So let's do this.
Simulate raising sea monsters as pets. They're going to start off as babies that can fit in your hand, all the way to being released into the ocean, where they're going to interact with humans, everyday animals, and each other.
By the way, guys, don't be worried. This is AI. So yeah.
To see what it would be like if sea monsters existed today. There's gonna be 4 different sea monsters in this video, starting off with this guy. This is a baby mosasaur, who has a large mouth similar to a crocodile, and you might have seen him in Jurassic World casually eat sharks and fully grown dinosaurs. And even though right now he looks like a cute little fish that I can pet, he already has a killer instinct and will grow up to be a scary predator. But next up, this is a baby plesiosaur. He has this long neck that kind of looks like a snake and lived during the age of the dinosaurs as one of the top predators in the ocean. Also, he's allegedly still alive in a lake in Scotland and is called the Loch Ness Monster that many people have claimed to see. If those people watch this video, they might faint. But next, this is a baby megalodon. Right now, it just looks like a normal shark, but unlike most sharks, he can grow to be over 60 feet long, and megalodons used to dominate the ocean when they were alive. But right now, he's pretty cute and can't even break the aquarium glass. So far, all 3 of these sea monsters are extinct animals that used to actually roam the earth. But this next sea monster is one that's only talked about in legends and movies. This is a baby kraken, who's supposed to be a massive squid creature that can eat entire ships. But for now, he's this cute little guy that's tickling my finger. But now that we have all 3 of the sea monsters, to properly raise them, I'm going to build them a habitat to live in where they'll all live together as babies for the first stage of their life. This should have everything they need, so it's time for them all to meet for the first time. Let's see if they get along. The tank has plenty of room for them to swim around, caves to hide in if they want privacy, plant life so that it doesn't feel like a prison cell, and I even added a floating pirate ship at the top to see if the Kraken wanted to destroy it. But since these creatures are apex predators, some of them started to show signs of aggression. Even though they're babies, the Megalodon and Mosasaur started to fight, while the Plesiosaur liked his privacy and to keep his long neck far away from the large teeth that the other creatures have. And the Kraken liked to chill around the bottom of the tank, isolated from the rest of them, where he started sucking on rocks. And now that they're all settling in, I'm going to feed them some different foods to see what they like. I'm going to give them 3 different rounds of foods, starting with some chunks of meat, which they slowly swam towards and started nibbling on. They were really hungry, so they're definitely enjoying this, but these animals are meant to be apex predators in the wild that hunt live animals. So for the next 2 rounds, I'm going to give them live animals so that they can learn to hunt. First, I'm going to add some tiny live fish. The Megalodon and Mosasaur seemed to instantly know to chase after them and enjoyed hunting and eating them up. The Kraken grabbed some with his long tentacles, and the Plesiosaur used its long neck to hunt down some of the fish that were hiding in tight spaces. But next, for their final round of eating, I gave them some krill that immediately started scurrying around the tank, but were
Not gonna
quickly
lie, that
hunted
looks like
down.
shrimp.
This shows us some early signs of each animal's hunting style, with the Mosasaur and Megalodon just straight up chasing the prey, the Plesiosaur using its neck to reach into small spaces, and the Kraken using its tentacles to grab the prey and take them on a fun adventure down into his mouth. Now, all 4 baby sea monsters have settled into their tank, and over the course of the next few months, they kept growing, and I noticed some cool stuff that they did. The Kraken ended up attacking and destroying the pirate ship, and grabbed onto everything else that I added in there. I was even able to hand feed the Plesiosaur out of the top of the tank, but not all was good, as the sea monsters quickly got too large and started to fight for food and overcrowd the tank. These are territorial animals, and considering the size of some of their teeth, the water in this tank could easily turn red. So once they got to over 2 feet in length, I decided that I'm going to transport them to the local aquarium to have a larger space to live and finally show them off to the public. They're now going to live amongst a large community tank, 60 times the size of the original habitat they grew up in. They're still going to live together in this tank, but are also going to live with other aquatic animals, like fish, stingrays, and turtles, many of which are larger than them. They're now in a real ecosystem similar to where they would be in real life, and immediately became a huge draw for visitors, especially the Plesiosaur and Mosasaur, as no one had ever seen animals that looked like them before outside of a movie theater. And for the first few weeks, they were pretty tame, as after being fed a bunch of food that filled them up and having plenty of space to explore around and interact with new species, they were pretty happy. For like a few weeks, because that soon changed, as they started to grow way faster than all the other animals in the tank, and went from being smaller than them to being significantly larger and more aggressive, and started to see their fellow tank mates as a gourmet meal.
Sorry for the ad.
5 times more attractive to flies. Introducing the Jalapeno Ranch
Sorry for the
Club.
other ad.
I need a little
Okay, I'm back.
The Mosasaur and Megalodon were the first to start attacking and eat other large creatures in the tank, including turtles, stingrays, and fish of all sizes. But this was until they bumped into each other, and just like when they were babies, immediately got territorial. This tank wasn't big enough for both of them to live in it, as they started to tear each other apart. The Kraken also started to get aggressive with other sea animals, and the aquarium staff quickly noticed this issue. And seeing that the 4 sea monsters were now the biggest draw for the aquarium's attendance, they needed to make sure that they all survived. So they removed all 4 of the sea monsters, and they're going to be transported to different
I thought they killed
habitats.
them.
The Megalodon was transported by boat into the largest tank of the aquarium, filled with larger predatory sharks and a massive whale shark that was over 30 feet long. This is the biggest aquarium in the entire zoo and has a bunch of space for him to grow into. And unlike in the previous habitat, there's a lot of animals that are stronger than him. The Kraken was also moved into a giant aquarium, and because he loved to destroy things, every night inside of his tank, there would be a show where a pirate ship would be dropped in and he would destroy it in front of the guests. And he quickly became the most popular animal in the aquarium from destroying everything. Next, the plesiosaur was the only creature who didn't attack his tank mates, so he was moved into this round community tank filled with kelp and other sea animals. He's still one of the smallest animals in here, but he has a lot of room to grow and doesn't have to worry about the other sea monster's massive teeth. And finally, the mosasaur was put in a private tank. After attacking other creatures in his previous aquarium, he was considered too violent to be kept with other animals, as unlike the Megalodon that for now looked like an everyday shark, the mosasaur was an exotic creature that no one had ever seen before, so he was put into an underground, empty containment tank to be studied by scientists. There was nothing inside of here but concrete walls and water. And over the next few months, all the sea monsters started to adapt into their new homes, changing how they lived their life and growing a lot in the process. The Kraken was now a master at destroying ships, channeling his primal nature and growing a larger and larger audience, with people coming all around the world just to watch him destroy ships. And he grew a lot larger, with his tentacles growing from 3 feet long to over 30 feet long. And meanwhile, after the plesiosaur had been eating a lot of fish, he had grown to over 15 feet long, becoming the largest creature in his aquarium and surrounded by crowds of people. But meanwhile, the Megalodon had been growing extremely fast. Using his aggressive nature to steal a lot of the other animals' foods, he had now become over 20 feet long and had grown the largest teeth in the entire aquarium. Because of this, the other sharks in the tank started to view him as their leader. He started to communicate with them and enjoyed the power that he felt over all the others. But he still wasn't the largest animal in the tank. The Megalodon attacked the whale shark that was almost 10 feet larger than him, causing a fight between the 2 largest creatures in the tank. And it ended with the Megalodon overpowering the gentle giant and providing a meal for himself and his now army of sharks that he had assembled in the tank. But while joined in, and eventually after smashing their heads and scratching the glass, it broke, and all of the animals in the tank were free to venture off into the ocean, led by a now over 30-foot-long Megalodon. Over the next few weeks, following the Megalodon's breakout, the aquarium was spammed with safety complaints and the number of visitors died down, all while the Kraken, plesiosaur, and mosasaur were growing larger and larger and needing more and more food to survive. And eventually, the staff decided that they couldn't risk another breakout, and revealed after being released from a cramped glass container, but the mosasaur had spent the last few months locked in a dark concrete tank completely alone. The only interaction he had with other animals was ripping them to shreds when he was being fed. So now that he'd been finally released, he was filled all sides. But the fight caused a little too much of a scene, because they had caught the attention of the Kraken, who started grabbing sharks and pulling them down with his tentacles. And in the middle of the chaos, the bruised mosasaur swam away safely, while the Megalodon was grabbed by a tentacle that he struggled to escape from. He He managed to eventually bite it off, causing the Kraken to back off, but half of the Megalodon army had already been kidnapped, and after losing sight of the Mosasaur, he was left angry for revenge.
2 slices and a Pepsi for just $8.
But meanwhile, the Plesiosaur, after being knocked out and badly wounded from the crocodile attack, had been recovered by nearby villagers where he was being healed. However, once he woke up, he was immediately startled and jumped in the water. But he quickly realized that he was still alive thanks to the island villagers who had healed his neck that was previously chewed up like a dog bone by the crocodiles. So he slowly returned to shore, acting friendly to the humans that had rescued him. And over the course of the next few weeks, the Plesiosaur formed a bond with the villagers that lived on the island and started to live in the water surrounding it. He helped the people living on the island hunt for fish, gather resources, and protected them from the crocodiles who previously ate many of their Sharks immediately swarmed the Mosasaur, overpowering him from all sides. The sharks also rushed at the Plesiosaur, who hadn't dealt.
Okay, guys, this is gonna be the end of the video, so see ya. Peace.